Okay, so here are the rails, and here is our show.
Completely off. Completely gone today. What in the world? Derailed. Yay, you're here. Welcome to the CK and GK podcast. Let's get going. Hi, friends. This episode was recorded in July of 2021, so you might hear a few things that are a little bit out of date. I mean, even our name was outdated, so we got that going for us. But the information, as always, is gold, and the funnies are definitely there. Take a listen. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome to Top Knot Talk, the podcast that's all about getting it real, putting your hair up, and getting to work.
Yeah, listening while you're folding laundry or whatever it is that you do when you listen. Either way, you probably need your hair up. So here you go. Here's some content for while your hair is up.
Well, we're two moms who are also teachers.
And we pretend to do adult things like, grown-up stuff on a regular basis.
We know a lot of things.
But we don't know even more.
Our approach to teaching is all about fun and practicality, so come laugh and learn with us. With me today is Caitlin. She is kind and loving and just dysfunctional enough to be funny.
You can either have a normal childhood or you can be funny, right? Isn't that the quote?
Right.
I had a normal childhood, to be fair. I think I just had just enough issues to be moderately funny. Anyway, across from me is mom of, Dorothy Zbornak and everyone's favorite golden girl, Sophia Petrillo.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't she the best?
Thank you. If you were going to call me a golden girl,
she's the best one to get called.
For sure I would be Dorothy. So this is a compliment.
You are not nasty or mean enough to be Dorothy. I love Sophia. It was her idea to carry the purse all the time.
Oh my gosh.
She said something about how she had already had to give up so much, women of that era had to give up so much that she refused to give up her purse. Everything that she had was in that purse. So she carried it around all the time. I like it. Well, that's precious. I haven't watched Golden Girls a full episode in forever, but I can spend hours listening to them roast each other. Hours on YouTube videos, just watch that all day long. I love that.
Did you ever watch the second series where they ran a hotel?
No. What?
It's called the Golden Palace. And after Dorothy married, they opened a hotel.
I heard about this. Oh my gosh. That's hysterical. Oh my gosh. I need to watch this.
Caitlin's like, go ahead and press unrecord. I'm just going to go watch Golden Palace.
Or just Golden Girls. It's just so good.
We could do an episode a la Office Ladies and watch one live and then comment on it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I would love to do that.
Listeners, let us know if you would actually want.
I'm sure that there's plenty of other podcasts that you can listen to that watch TV shows. There's one I was just telling Jenny about fairly recently, but there's one that I just started listening to also on the Exactly Right network called That's Messed Up, which is the Ice-T line from Law and Order SVU when he would see what happened and they would paint the whole picture of what was going on and he would just go, that's messed up. And it's all recapping an episode of Law and Order SVU. And it's so good. And then they tell you about the crime that the episode is based on. It's so funny. Those ladies are hysterical. So welcome to the podcast as we finally get into what we're actually doing today.
So we like to start each episode with what we call circle time. And remember when you were in pre-K, you would come and sit on the carpet and sit crisscross applesauce and share.
Yeah.
And this is our chance to catch up on what's going on in the world, in our worlds, and share a little story. There's some big news in sports right now, of course, the Olympics. So I'm going to let Caitlin start with that.
My obsession with the Olympics runs deep. And I think this is partly because when I was a kid, we didn't have cable. So when the Olympics were on, there was something on television all the time. So I was super stoked. Anyway.
But do you know they didn't show all the sports?
No.
In the 96 Olympics, They did not show the discus, and I was very upset. I wrote a letter to NBC, and they wrote me back and apologized.
That's pretty impressive that they actually wrote you back.
I know it's a form letter, but still.
Still doesn't matter. You still got a response. That's better than when my mom tried to buy me a tote bag from PBS that had Sesame Street characters on it. And then not only did she like not ever get the tote bag, which was devastating for me, but also when she tried to inquire about what happened to the money that she gave in order to get this tote bag.
Viewers like you.
Yeah, exactly. They never answered her. So I think she's pretty bitter about it. I still am.
Apparently.
Yeah. Anyway, the Olympics. So
we're going to have to edit all of that out, y'all.
No, don't edit it. It's so meaningless and amazing. All right. So the big news in the Olympics right now is Simone Biles during team competition a couple of days ago did her first vault, first rotation, then immediately pulled out of competition. From what I understand, she is citing mental health reasons. She's saying she's not physically injured. That's good news for her. When I was listening to additional coverage of this, they had Nastia Liukin, the former Olympian, also gold medal Olympian, commenting on it. And she said that she'd been texting with Simone. It is her understanding that Simone has what they're calling the twisties. The twisties, if you're familiar with baseball or golf at all, there's this idea it's a mental situation. It's called the yips. And essentially what happens is you can't get over some mental block that's causing you to be unable to perform physically. So when my husband described himself having the yips in high school, he couldn't throw the ball from his position at catcher back to home plate. And it's not that he didn't want to. It's not that he didn't go, I need to get over this. Let me throw it straight. He just couldn't do it. It is my understanding that with the gymnasts who are doing this, they kind of get lost in the air. That's very dangerous to be lost in the air.
I heard another gymnast making the same thing, that she was like, the lights can blind you, or you can forget to count your turns and you get lost.
Yeah. They did like a slow-mo of that vault that Simone did. And I was looking at her face, and it is very scary to see the look on her face. That she does appear to be very scared and confused, which is not like her. She's pulled out of that. She also just today pulled out of the all-around competition. I've heard some kind of nasty comments about her, but my thought is she's represented our country for 4 years. She's dominated at Worlds over and over and over again. She has been the face of moving on with your life after being sexually abused. This girl is strong. This girl is so mentally strong. And I think that it's unfortunate the timing that this is happening, because so many people are hoping for, Olympic golds, but let's all, be supportive, because mental health is already scary enough. And Michael Phelps actually did go on and kind of have a little, not a tirade, but like a very firm, like, this is serious. We are carrying a lot of pressure. Let's let up and leave people alone. Katie Ledecky, my swim girl, who's been showing up in some pretty funny commercials lately. There's one for Visa where she starting out in an archery competition, and she's like, I'm pretty good at this. And she ends up in third place behind like some little kid, and it's very cute. Anyway, she got the silver in the 400 free. She was beaten by Ariane Titmus, who is the girl whose coach has gone nuts, and the coach has gone viral for like an excessive celebration. That was when she beat Katie Ledecky. That's when he lost his mind like that, which was hysterical. So silver in the 400 free, fifth in the 200 free, which she was pretty disappointed by. But then yesterday, in the very first women's 1500 free, she took gold. It was by more than a second that she beat the second place swimmer, and the second place swimmer was an American. So it was a gold silver for the Americans there. And
a second is a long time in swimming.
It was almost 2. It was like 1.87 or something like that. When I was looking, it could have changed by the end. But at one point she was 3 seconds ahead.
That's insane.
To be clear, 1500 meters, an Olympic pool is 50 meters long. That's 30 lengths of the pool. You're concentrating on counting your strokes. Can you imagine doing that for like 30 times? It's like a 15-minute race. Anyway, she's the winner. Some pretty cool other things happening. Just quick updates. American Carissa Moore won surfing golds as the very first time that surfing has ever been held at the Olympics. She's from Hawaii, and it was so cute to watch how excited she was. It was great. My other favorite story is Highland Diaz, who won the first gold medal ever for the Philippines in weightlifting, and the joy on her face.
I went to the Philippines a few years ago, and I made a friend there. She just had a string of pictures of that girl saying, yes, 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 here she is. It was so cute to see how proud she was.
That's so great. It was very sweet. So there's been some really great moments so far, some true like sportsmanship that I've seen. So I hope that you guys are enjoying the Olympics as it is right now. Do you have Go Sports or no?
I do.
Go with your Go Sports.
You know, I went to Texas A&M and my husband went to Texas. So
rivalry.
Yeah, we have that little rivalry house. Also, my sister went to Texas. And in 2011, Texas A&M left the Big 12 conference to join the Southeastern Conference, the SEC. Mm-hmm. I was so mad that we threw away 100-year rivalry that I put a wooden spoon through the wall.
Wow, that's pretty heated.
Now, I was pregnant, so maybe I had like some superhuman strength. I don't know.
Okay, Andy Bernard, as you thought.
Right.
That was an overreaction.
And I left the hole. It was like a reminder of A&M turning their back on Texas. So recently, the University of Texas, which I should refer to as just another Texas university, because, you know, Texas A&M is the University of Texas.
Oh, God.
So that school in Austin and OU have asked the SEC, hey, you want to go on a date? I can't come until 2025, but what do you think? Both schools have announced that they are going to take a break from the Big 12, mm-hmm. and the SEC has to vote as to whether or not they can come in. Ka-ching, of course they can.
Right, it's Texas. In terms of the University of Texas, UT,
mm-hmm.
has a very proud, sports history and football in particular, and fans here are very opinionated when it comes to UT football. To me, this is UT going, we need to join a division in which we can recruit better. Because UT
right.
football is not doing well right now and hasn't been for some years. And so you can't recruit when the options are the SEC, which routinely churns out national titles and professional football players. Like that's just a draw for recruits. And when, you're not in that same division, you can't compete. And so
you can't compete with Saban.
Ooh, them's fine words for somebody.
It's fine.
Because all of our sports nuts listeners are going to be like,
right.
She didn't. Just kidding.
Nick Saban is the coach of Alabama and has been for a long time. And Alabama just has a dynasty. And whether they go home with a championship or not at the end of the season, they always have a great record. So anyhow, the current athletic director at Texas A&M said, Aggies don't really care about this rivalry anymore. We're over it. And Texas has been over it since before we even were, separated. This doesn't mean anything for the A&M and Texas schedule.
Yeah, okay.
No, Aggies do care.
Right. Yeah, Aggies
we
for
want
sure
this
care.
rivalry game back.
Right. Like they for sure care.
So I'm very excited about this possible move because it brings back my lovely Thanksgiving tradition. The burnt orange and the maroon will face again.
Well, you know which side I'm on. My hair is the color of the burnt orange. So
it's totally fine. It doesn't bother me at all.
You're fine. You can handle your own. So I'm not concerned about that at all.
We have a couple of updates. I talked about Stanley Cup hockey earlier in the season, and I never told you that Tampa Bay did win. They're the Stanley Cup champions this year.
Yay!
And we had talked about Soul Cap, the swim cap that's designed for swimmers of color. And we had crossed our fingers and hoped that FINA would allow swimmers to wear this in the Olympics. And the answer was no. They did apologize and say that they will try to do better in the future, but the swim cap was not approved for Olympic competition.
So not this time around, but maybe is it being submitted for 2024 maybe?
I can't imagine that Soul Cap won't. After all of this press.
Yeah, there's been a few big moves like that where like the German gymnastics team wearing the full body
unitard.
Suit. Oh my gosh. I was like,
it was so good.
You know what? And to me, it's not about whether or not the girls wear the leotard. If they want to wear the leotard, then go for it. But the idea that you are forced to wear that, I don't know. To me, it's like, let's not tell people what they have to wear as long as it meets certain requirements and it doesn't doesn't add any performance enhancements, then why not? And that's how I feel about this soul cap thing too. It's like,
and if it's an option for everyone, then it
right,
doesn't improve
then it doesn't
anything
improve
for anyone
anything.
else.
We have I'm not ashamed corner. So Jenny is the queen of this corner. Her life is way funnier than mine. Mine's pretty basic, but you always have something great.
I went to Sonic the other day. I ordered a diet cherry limeade.
Sounds really good.
It's great. And I asked, can you put some extra cherries? Because I'm having a bad day.
Did you say that to them?
I did.
Oh, and?
They brought it out for free.
Oh, that's so nice.
So thanks, Sonic.
Yeah, well done. Oh, that's a heartwarming story. Sonic, I like you. I like it. That's very precious. I'm sorry you had a hard day. That sucks.
No, it's
but
fine.
At least the Sonic thing made it better. Anything else going on with you?
So the other thing, those listeners who are repeat offenders know that my son has been in a boot. He broke his toe actually at Caitlin's son's birthday party. In the jump, the bouncy house, we put him in a padded room and he still managed to break a bone.
He was trying to keep up with a bunch of 5-year-olds. He didn't stand a chance.
But he's out of the boot now. And so we had worked so hard to make the boot cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to love this. It's going to be your robot foot. Look how cool you are. So now we have to, only a month later, break up with the boot.
Uh-oh. So is he like sad about not having the boot?
I was afraid that was going to happen. So I was proactive. Here's where the I'm not ashamed part comes in. While we are still at the orthopedist, I chanted as loud as I could, free the toe.
Nice.
Free the toe.
Smart.
And Kit started singing,
yes.
free the toe. The nurse started chanting with us, free the toe.
Oh my gosh.
So we walked out of there
with a free toe.
Free the toe. All the way through the medical center.
First of all, precious. I can't handle that. But second of all, you probably gave that nurse a really amazing idea for later on. Like, I'm sure she's going to use that.
Rolling.
I mean,
she
how
thought
do you
it was
not?
the funniest thing.
I can't. This is the kind of thing that Jenny does, right? Like she can just find some sort of like random chant. A couple of years ago, when our school was doing kind of like Hogwarts style houses, Jenny's house that she was like leading was the bantams, right? A bantam is a rooster. So she'd be like, combs up, and all the kids would just have to put their hand on their head like a rooster comb, and the kids were so into it. This is the kind of thing that she comes up with. I swear she's going to be like a day camp leader one day. She's so good at this.
Yeah, my dream is to own my own summer camp.
It's going to happen. Camp counselor Jenny is going to make it happen. I know it. I told Jenny this the other day. I was watching TikTok because, of course, I was. And there was a woman who was talking about geriatric millennials and how we are. I say we, like I'm okay with that term, but
go back to the last episode and hear us talk about why we are the Oregon Trail
generation. That's what it is. She is saying that she's trying to get on top of all of these social media trends. And so she's like, I signed up, I got Facebook and I have Instagram and I have, WhatsApp and I'm on Snapchat and then I got on TikTok and I was like, I heard of this new one. And so I was like, oh, I better get on it. And it's OnlyFans. So she got onto an OnlyFans. She's like, you guys, I thought it was like a social media thing. Like I thought I was going to be sharing my video. And I was like, you're sharing your videos. But I mean, so we made this joke about how like, if I'm going to have an OnlyFans, it's going to just be my feet. Like there will be no identifying characteristics except maybe to my mother who would look at it and go, oh, there's that one freckle she has on her foot.
Oh my gosh, that's a great mom. I can't tell you anything about my children's feet freckles.
No, she might not know, but it's the only one. I have freckles, head to toe, but I don't have any on my feet except for this one. So it might even be a mole. Who knows? Whatever. I like it. I think it's cute. It's like a beauty mark on my foot. That we made this joke that we would have an OnlyFans and mine would just be my feet and it would be called Oh Toe You Didn't. So if you see somewhere, if you have an OnlyFans and all of a sudden this account comes up that's Oh Toe You Didn't, it's not me yet. I will tell you if it happens, but it could be me or they stole that idea from this.
I was just going to say, maybe the money is to be made on selling the rights to the name.
I think it's funny. And I think because what people do with their OnlyFans viewing is up to them. So Oh Tell You Didn't is a really good It's just a really good name. Anyway, that's I'm not ashamed, because if a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do, that's all there is to it. In addition to other ridiculousness, the new obsession at my house is Space Jam.
Oh my gosh. And let me tell you, this is the third episode where Space Jam has come up. So if you're like looking for a running theme of Top Not Talk, apparently Space Jam is one of them.
Well, it's the good Space Jam. Now, to be fair, they're both good, right? Like I liked the second one, and I said that in my last episode. I did like the second one. I think they updated it well. Either way, my son is not as into the second one. He prefers the first one, the Michael Jordan one.
Because he has taste.
Right. And because his mother and father are us, right? So like he has no choice. But his new thing in the house is to jump off of the Chase Lounge from the couch and like pretend that he is Michael Jordan, reaching his arm extra long for the final dunk that wins the game. And he sings as he's doing this, "I Believe I Can Fly." So like you'll just see like him kind of going across the living room, trying to dunk a basketball in the print that my sister took and that I brought from her website, which I can also promote on here if I need to. But it's very funny and very cute. And the other day he was like, "Mom, my basketball skills are really good. I'm going to be Michael Jordan and you can be Lola Bunny." And I was like, this boy cannot bounce a ball. Like he can bounce the ball. But he has a long way to go in his basketball skills. So he's like, "Mom, I'm Michael Jordan." So I'm
my
like
basketball skills are really good.
Yeah, he's really good. My basketball skills are really good, Mom. This is one of those situations where you just kind of like smile and nod. You're like, yeah. And he'll be like, "Am I as good as Michael Jordan?" And I'm like, with some practice. Like, what else am I supposed to say? He was cut from his high school varsity basketball team. So in a sense, you two are the same, right?
You're both not on a varsity team.
You would also not make a team. But you know what? He practiced every day. And if you keep practicing, you can be very good at basketball too. But it was just very funny to like have to look at my child and go, "Yeah, Michael Jordan. Yep, that's you." Yeah. And he is tall. My son is tall. But that does not equate to athleticism.
That's the only thing that you need in basketball.
No, not at least not right now. Not when you're 5. So that was my other, bout of ridiculousness for the week.
Well, kids saying ridiculous things. We went to a luau at a brewery in Houston, and they had a roast pig.
Could you see the face? The face.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like glistening. It's got the little apple in its mouth. Like this is the classic roast pig.
Nice.
And thinking that my son would be grossed out by it. Setting it up, thinking, "Oh my gosh, he's going to say, ew, gross. I don't want to eat this."
Or freak out. Yeah.
To Kit, who is, almost 3, I said to him, "We're going to eat that pig. What part are you going to eat?" Again, I was expecting him to say, "Ew, I'm not eating that."
No,
and the face is still on it.
Yeah,
no, he looks at me, straight face, the tail.
Okay. All right.
Called my bluff. I mean,
yeah, he did. Yeah, he got you.
Unless he had said the snout, I can't think of a funnier answer.
Why is he like this little old man? Like he just says.
We didn't eat the pig. We waited 90 minutes and they still hadn't served the pig.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
again,
a long time.
My son is almost 3, so 90 minutes. That's a long time.
That's a long time to wait. Yeah, especially for food. That's a long time to ask me to wait for food. I'm gonna just make a horrible segue, as I typically do, into like what my obsessions are. But one of my obsessions right now is sort of food related, I guess. I have been making cold brew turmeric tea on a regular basis. Like I
am making a face right now that's kind of yuck. I've been primarily a tea drinker. Coffee is one of those things where the acid content's just so high that I get sick. And I also don't need to have jitters. Like I have enough anxiety as it is. And so for me to have the shakes is just not necessary. However, coffee is becoming one of my best friends lately. That's how you know you're becoming a writer, is when you have coffee as a best friend. I must be a Pulitzer winner then.
I think you probably are. I mean, free the toe in the middle of a nurse's office. That's genius comedic writing right there. So you just like take them tea or like loose tea or tea bags or whatever, and you just let it brew, like steep overnight in cold water in the fridge. and it's not bitter.
What's the turmeric?
It's like it's like an anti-inflammatory.
But do you taste it?
No. Well, I mean, you have a little bit of flavor, but it's not like you're tasting. It doesn't
Like it's not like drinking curry water.
No,
Okay.
no, not at all.
That's what I'm imagining.
No,
it's like yellow like mustard, and then it tastes like you're drinking curry.
It's not curry spice. No,
and I love curry. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I want to like sip it in a mug.
You know, I have Indian food like every Friday, and I'm telling you, if someone from my favorite restaurant in town, if you are listening, if you're inquiring mind and you want to know if it's your restaurant, you hit me up and I will tell you, because we eat there. It's like once a week, and then we have leftovers for later in the week. It's just amazing. They know my husband when he goes in. They know exactly what his order is. It's like that scene in Sex and the City when Miranda calls the Chinese food place and the girl like knows her order and kind of mocks her for it, and she's all self-conscious about it. That's like how our order is at that Indian restaurant. Anyway, that said, the tea is delicious. So if you haven't done any cold brew teas yet, you should. It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing. It's so hot here. Like just ugh.
So like I went outside yesterday to touch the pavement to see if it was too hot to walk the dog.
Probably was.
It was. But as I'm out there, I hear this humming.
Not like cicada noise, like a different noise?
No, like it was an entire swarm of bees.
Oh, that's a big nope.
You know, my shoulders are up. I'm looking around. I am panicked because I also have a phobia of bees. So oh yeah, I was horribly attacked as a child, and it's like inside my head.
Like, hold on, like my girl style attacked?
I didn't die, but
well, no, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. Oh,
I disturbed a nest, and I was stung so much that my dad had to turn the hose on me to get them off.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, it's still a phobia. Like it's totally irrational.
No, it's not irrational. It's traumatic.
But I hear the swarming sound.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what?
Get me out of here.
And I am panicking.
Yeah.
And then I see that it's a roofer across the street running a drone. And I said to him, you know, in 2021, I should recognize that sound as a drone and not a swarm of bees. He goes, oh, you were freaking out.
He watched you.
He straight up called me out.
That's so funny. So you are definitely a scientist, like through and through, for sure. So I'm very surprised that I love bees. I don't necessarily want to disturb any. I love bees. They're my son made me choose a favorite insect. That's my favorite insect. I love bees.
Austin Nature and Science Center.
Ooh.
They have a beehive that's glass on either side, and you can actually see the bees.
Really cool. I don't know how Instagrammy you are, but there's an account called Texas Bee Works. I think her name is Erica Thompson.
I'm afraid of bees.
Yeah.
You think I'm following bees?
No. Well, that makes sense. But no, it's like this. It's very ASMR. She's like, I could see that these bees are not going to sting me. And she just like picks them up by the handful and like drops them into a new hive. And it's unbelievable what she's doing. I think she lives out in like Bastrop, and she's got like all these bees. And in Texas, if you put a beehive on your property, there's something about your taxes that you can do because
it's one of the 11 qualifying practices for a wildlife exemption.
Yes, there it is. You get a wildlife exemption. That's the word. I love bees, and I'm so like, if I didn't have a 5-year-old who might disturb it and who loves insects and would want to go see it, I would be inclined to put a beehive on my property. I'm
pro bee. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
Right? Like I know they're important, and I'm not going to kill them. But when it sounds like 40,000 of them are coming for me while I'm laying on the pavement to see if it's too hot for my dog.
Yeah, no, that's not. No. That's,
and you know, they tell you when you're testing the pavement, like you have to test it with the back of your hand. You can't touch it with your palm because it's not sensitive enough.
Right. Ouch.
So I'm getting down on the ground, touching the pavement, and then freaking out enough that this roofer is telling me, oh yeah, you looked pretty bad out there.
Oh, what you had to be doing for a roofer to be to notice you. This is not funny. You're afraid. I should just stop laughing.
It's funny. It's funny. It wouldn't be funny if he hadn't called me out for it.
That's fair. That's true.
Right. What's funny is that he was like, yeah, I'm just going to watch this lady freak out a little bit.
I'm going to let her panic, and he's not going to tell her what it is. That's kind of messed up too. So we've also got our Real Talk, and our Real Talk is going to be part of a series. We, as teachers, wanted to help parents as you navigate your school choice options. We want to make sure you know kind of the ins and outs of 3 types of schools. So this is going to be part of our school info series. We want to talk about public schools, charter schools, and private schools for you guys, just to give you some of the basics, the basic information that you need in order to make a decision that might help your family. It's possible you've already made these choices, but you may not understand all the things that are going into your school, what options your school is required to provide you as a parent and your child. Just a quick disclaimer about all of this is that neither Jenny nor I know everything about these types of schools. This is really basic information, but we are speaking from our past experiences, and both Jenny and I have a master's degree in education. So it's not like we're coming at this from a completely uninformed perspective. That said, we don't know every single thing. We are not administrators of any of these schools at the moment, although Jenny probably will be at some point in her life.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, that, and then camp counselor. So we just wanted to be helpful. That's really what this comes down to, is helping you make some choices.
The other thing is we don't know about your particular area.
Right.
When we talk about private school or public school, we are talking about the traditional neighborhood school, which might be a fantastic option for your family. This information will vary from neighborhood to neighborhood, need to need. We're just reporting what we know in our part of the country.
Right. And every family looks different. Every family has different needs. Whatever works best for you and your family. We're not here to judge. We're just here to give you some information. Hopefully you can use that to go out and do your own research and kind of get your foot in the door of at least what you know to look for as you do your research into finding a place that you can feel comfortable calling your child's school. So we're going to start with public schools. That's probably the one that many, or if not most, of our listeners would be considering sending their child to, just because it is the school system that most families use. I want to talk specifically about a few basic categories. I want to give you guys the basics on how the school is funded, and what you have to pay. I want to talk about the admissions process, what to do if your child has a special need or a learning difference, the teachers who are in that school, any academic programs, potential class sizes or concerns there, and any racial and religious diversity. And that's a lot of information to take in. And initially we thought, this could go into one episode, and it totally can't. Like, there's just no way that we can cover all this information in one episode. And so our next episode, we'll talk about charter schools, and the one after that, we'll talk about private. So we'll try and release these out fairly quickly so that you can get a sense of exactly what you need to know as you make your decision for your family. Public schools. Basic information. Funding comes from tax dollars at the local, state, and federal levels. States get to decide how that funding is distributed, so that could vary depending on your state. Public schools have to follow state guidelines on what has to be taught to students and on how students are evaluated, meaning testing and what the curriculum is for the teachers to teach. Teachers are required to teach to certain standards. Those standards are laid out by the state or by the national body if the state chooses to adopt national standards. That's not the teacher's choice. So one of the big points of contention that has been around for a while is Common Core. If your state is a Common Core state, it has adopted Common Core state standards, and yelling at the teacher isn't going to change the fact that your teacher has to teach Common Core state standards. Those are mandated to that teacher by the state. Education is free at public schools in terms of what the parent has to pay, meaning you don't have any tuition to pay.
Right. What we'll hear a lot as an answer to that is, it comes from my property taxes, which is true if you're a homeowner or a landowner in a property tax assessing area for that particular district.
Yes.
But it is not based on whether or not your child chooses to attend that school.
Right.
So the people who live across the street from me and have no children are paying the same property tax percentage as my family who has two.
Right.
So while schools are funded locally, from property taxes. You don't elect in or out. So we say it's free.
Right. Admissions for public schools. Students cannot be discriminated against based on race, gender, or disability. By law, every public school must accept every child within their district, not within their neighborhood, but within their district. There's been a situation in Austin, actually fairly recently, where there is a school that was undergoing construction. And so they pushed those kids, the neighborhood kids, out to other schools, and people were upset about that. But the district is where your child is required to be accepted. It doesn't matter that your school, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just something to think about as you are choosing a school within your district, which some schools will allow you to, or some districts will allow you to do and others will not. If you are living within the district boundaries, your child can attend a school within that district, but they are not required to accept every child at a particular school. So families are not guaranteed admission to the school of their choice. So for example, you might have a school in your area that is considered to be a magnet school. They have some sort of program that is attractive to students from all over the district. There's one near my house that is known for having a great fine arts program. There are kids who want to go to that school for the fine arts program. They have to apply to that fine arts program. And if they get accepted, then they can go to that school. However, the school can say, no, you don't really meet the criteria. You're going to have to go to your local middle school or whatever that might be. Some high performing public schools may accept students based on test scores. That does happen. Others might serve a particular population of students. We have some schools in our area that are a draw for students who have a reading difference. Maybe one school has a lot of autism resources. So a school may say, this is the needs of your family. You might be better off going towards this public school, which can serve you better as opposed to ours.
Or if you're an expectant mother,
yes,
there might be a program.
There might be a program
that's still paid for by the district,
right?
But it might not be your neighborhood school,
right? And again, as long as you are in the district, that the district schools are required to accept your child. You might have to do some shopping around to find the school that suits you best within that district. All public schools are required to give students with disabilities a, quote, free and appropriate public education. So a public school will provide the services that your child needs should they find out that that child needs them. The big lesson here about not being guaranteed in admission into the school of your choice is that you need to find out about any lotteries for certain programs, application processes, any other things that might prevent you from getting into the school that you want to get into if that school attracts your family. And then have a backup, have a plan for what to do if you don't get in that year. If you have a child who has a learning difference or some other special need, public schools are required by law to evaluate students for special education services. So if you say to your school, I want my child assessed, that school is required then to perform those evaluations that would be necessary. They are also required by law to write up what's called an IEP, which is an individualized education program or plan that will provide reasonable learning accommodations for your child. When they find out that your child does have a learning difference or some other special need that requires individualized education plans, they will write that up, and then you will have a big meeting with your child's teachers, their caseworker, most likely the school psychologist, counselor, to ensure that everyone's on the same page about what is written into that IEP. And Jenny, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I was always told when I was teaching in a public school, like if there's one law that you break within the education community, don't let it be the IEP. The IEP is like the most important document when it comes to children with special needs.
If your child is entitled to services, and that service might be he gets to sit closer to the board, mm-hmm. or she gets a hard copy of notes in class.
Yeah.
If those services are not provided, that is considered to be discrimination against someone with a disability.
Right.
This is serious.
It is a big deal. Teachers are going to be very mindful of those accommodations when they plan their lessons. Your teachers are going to sit down with the caseworker and really find out what those accommodations actually mean. A public school is also required by law to provide a 504 plan. So a 504 plan and an IEP, again, we can get into this at a different time.
An IEP falls under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, whereas a 504 plan makes sure that everything is accessible to someone who has a difference, and IDEA just ensures that all students get that free and appropriate education.
Now, that's a very, very simplistic breakdown, but they are different. Either way, if your child has some sort of evaluation and there is a need that is discovered by that evaluation, your school will determine which one of those two plans your child falls under, and they are required by law to provide that plan. And then they are required by law to abide by that plan.
And update it each year.
If you are sending your child to a public school and he or she or they has a special need, your child's special education teachers are required by law to be state certified. You might have some teacher assistants that have a different kind of certification, but your teacher will be state certified. So you're not going to have an issue where your child's teacher is not certified in that content area. Along that same vein, teachers who are in a public school are going to be certified in whatever content area. So if they're social studies or math, they will have a certification, which again varies by state for how you obtain that certification. But typically the requirements would be at minimum of a bachelor's degree in their content area, and then some sort of valid teaching license. For many states, that means you pass an exam that shows that you can demonstrate knowledge of your content area, but also that you know learning best practices for kids, so that you're not, trying to teach kids in a way that doesn't actually make sense for how they learn at that age. Let's see. Again, those requirements are set by the state. So if you're curious about that, every state has an education agency website that you can look at. You could just look that up. It's pretty easy to find online. So if you're curious about what the requirements are for your teachers to be certified. This is the part where it gets a little bit interesting. Academic programs and class sizes are going to vary hugely from the three types of schools. In a public school, they have to follow state guidelines that outline teaching standards and testing procedures. And the idea here is to potentially create some quality control over what's going on in the classroom. You may find that that's rigid. It's too rigid for you and for your family. State standards and requirements are all outlined usually on a state's education agency website. So you can go find those out if you need to know what your child is supposed to be learning in 7th grade history. And I only say that because I taught 7th grade history. There are a lot of funding issues. And so funding problems have forced a lot of public schools to reduce teaching staff, cut back on classes that are outside of the state's core curriculum. We have a very heavy math and, language arts focus here in the United States. So that means that a lot of times social studies teachers and science teachers get cut. Art teachers and music teachers and PE teachers get cut.
We've all seen Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh, yes. It's so good. Oh, never mind. Well, we can get to that later. But class sizes are going to differ dramatically from one district to another, from one school to another within the same district. So don't make any assumptions about information that you see until you kind of do some personal investigating on your own. You could ask your child's teacher, how many kids are in your class? They'll tell you they have no reason to lie.
And that is the question that you want to ask. Many schools will advertise their
ratio,
teacher-student ratio.
Yeah.
You are not interested in this number.
No.
Because this number includes specials teachers like the librarian. It includes the nurse. It includes paraprofessionals or teaching assistants who may or may not be in the classroom at that time. You are not interested in the teacher-student ratio.
No.
You are interested in the number of students on record in a teacher's class.
Right. If you're looking to change schools, ask that question. How many students do you have this year? Again, your teacher has no reason to lie. They will tell you the truth. And all districts will have some sort of like by the numbers part of their websites.
A little one cheater.
Oh yeah. Like it'll say, here's our teacher student ratio throughout the district. And it's an average. And it'll usually be like 1 to 22. It'll look really good. And then, you find out from your kid that they want to invite their entire class to their birthday party and their entire class is 36 kids. And you're just like, wait, what? Now 36 is huge, but it's not unheard of. So just something to think about. Also, something to think about is when you have a reduction in non-essential classes, such as art or music or PE, that actually ends up leading to larger class sizes for your child in their regular gen ed, general education classes. So because there's no place to put those children at that time, especially in the secondary levels, if you get rid of the art teacher, now all those kids have nowhere else to go during that class period. And so it makes the other classes larger. So I'm going to advocate for teachers who teach specials, who teach elective classes. It helps to make sure that your kids' class size in their gen ed classes stays low. In Austin, I think the average class size a couple of years ago was right around 30. That's pretty standard. You can expect about 30 kids in a class for many public schools. When I taught in Colorado, I taught at one of the largest middle schools, if not the largest middle school in the state of Colorado. I had a couple of times where I would start out at the very beginning of the year when schedules were still kind of figuring out themselves. One time I had a class of like 44.
Wow.
Yeah, it was insane. And it lasted maybe 3 days.
But still.
Yeah, but it was a lot to have in one class.
That is a lot.
The lesson here is just to do some research. Look at the by the numbers section on the district website and see what that tells you. And then ask your child, how many students are in your class, or ask your child's teacher. A lot of teachers will number their cubbies or their supplies or something. How many numbers are there? Another shameless plug. Help pass bonds that fund public schools to keep your kids' class sizes down. So the last thing I want to talk about for public schools is this racial and religious diversity. For many parents, their child's school is sort of a representation of the world at large, right? So they want their child to be exposed to as many different ethnic backgrounds, races, nationalities as possible. A lot of times you'll see that the school is very reflective of its home community. Your school is probably going to look a lot like what your community looks like.
Right. We live in a primarily Asian neighborhood. Most of the students at the local public school.
Whereas my neighborhood is primarily a white neighborhood, and there is not that much diversity at the local school. Schools have done a few things to try and change that. They'll create magnet schools that are a draw for kids of different backgrounds. And again, like I said, the one down the road from here is the Fine Arts Academy, and kids from all over the district want to be in the fine arts program. And so it does attract some diversity. These magnet schools, again, can be a little bit more selective about who gets into the program. So you might see that diversity in the magnet schools, but you might not. So again, just do some research. If you can, visit the school. Visit during a school day, hopefully at a time when there are kids milling about, so that you can get a good sense of who's going to that school. And you can see, look, there's a bunch of different kids here. I hear different languages in the hallways. This is awesome. I want my kid to come here. Just something to think about as you are choosing schools. I think the big theme is going to be do some research and visit your school when you can.
This is true for selecting a college as well.
To visit.
I would recommend to all high school students, visit the school on a school day. I know that Saturday is the day that's easier for you to drive out to that university, but go visit on a Thursday.
Yeah.
See what it looks like when it's crawling with kids.
I mean, you may be attending the most beautiful campus ever, but that doesn't matter if you're not going to meet any people that are like you or that are different from you that you're interested in knowing. So you got to do some visiting and some research.
One plug I would make for the public school system is the extracurricular opportunities.
Yes.
If your child is a musician or an athlete or an actress, the public school might be a better opportunity for your child to explore their interests. One of the ways that charter schools can enhance the academic experience is they pare down the extracurricular options. And a lot of private schools are too small or are not eligible in some states to compete against local public schools.
Absolutely true. So again, I mean, it's really just kind of coming down to what's going to suit your family. And for some people that might not even be a consideration. For some people, they hear free,
Right.
and they're like, I can't afford to do anything else. So my kid's going to go to the local school because I know that they're going to help my child in the event that he or she doesn't get lunch at home or whatever. So,
and included in that free is transportation.
Absolutely true. So there's a bus stop right on the corner, and my son is only going into kindergarten, so I'm not totally prepared for him to ride the bus, but there might come a time.
But if that was something that your family needed,
yeah,
it's
right there. So, I mean, these are things that with private schools, with charter schools, they're not always available. So it's something to think about. My overall summation of public schools is I believe in public schools as a former public school teacher. You improve public schools by sending great kids to public schools, and you probably have a great kid. So send your kid to a public school if that school is going to meet your needs. If it's not, we're going to talk about charter schools and we're going to talk about private schools in our next 2 episodes. Between the two of us, Jenny and I, we've taught in all 3. So you're not going to have any judgment from us, and frankly, you shouldn't from anyone, because it's your decision where you're going to send your kid, and it has to do with what is going to suit your family's needs. So my only plea to you is to fund education and to support teachers, because no matter which school you send your kid to, you're going to need to make sure you support your teacher. Remember what you were doing when you were a kid in the classroom. I know what I was doing when I was a kid in the classroom.
I got in trouble for talking in band. I play a wind instrument.
I mean,
and I got in trouble
we're
for
both
talking
full
in
of
band.
hot air. That's why we're doing this podcast in the first place. So, I mean, let's be clear. Again, no matter where you send your kid, support the teacher. The teacher wants your child to be successful. The teacher loves your kid. Support them. And you know, there are lots of great funny videos for how you can set your child and your child's teacher up for success in this coming year. And some of them are hysterical. So it's worth your time to go find those. Public schools are a great option for you if that's what's going to work for you. Please stay tuned for our next episode when we talk about charter schools. And these are of a particular draw because a lot of them have magnet programs. And so we'll talk about that. And Jenny's going to be my expert on that because she's done some teaching in a charter school, whereas I have not. If you like us and you enjoyed our show, I know we've talked for a while today, but hopefully you got some fun and you got some entertainment and you got some knowledge. That's really the whole point, right? That's what we're going for here. Practical information that might make you have a chuckle or two here and there. But if you liked us and you enjoyed our show, we'd really love for you to like and subscribe, rate, review, subscribe, do the things that make podcasts get noticed or just make us feel good because we might have a follower or two, a subscriber.
Hit us up on socials, both Twitter and Instagram. Top Not Talk Pod.
You got it.
All right. And like any good mom would say, make good choices.
And use your gift cards. And buy those things on the school supply list. Your teachers need those. Okay, love you. Bye. Hey friends, thanks for listening to the CK and GK podcast. Find us at CK and GK podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or anywhere else that you pod. See you next time.